Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the managing director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. As the title of this video suggests, we're discussing Thai immigration policy. And I've done a number of videos roughly the past month. I've talked a lot about Thai retirement visas recently. I have to be honest with you, part of the impetus for doing so was the comments made by Surachat Big Joke Hakpan when he was talking about the fact that he felt that the retirement visa scheme needed to be overhauled. Again, as we've discussed in other videos, I don't believe that this is going to happen instantaneously. In fact, I'm thinking over this coming high season, we probably won't see major changes to the retirement visa. And we may not see major changes to the retirement visa. At the end of the day, Mr. Hakpan is at this time, the Deputy National Police Chief. Now, some of the things that he may do may overlap with Thai immigration, but again, he's no longer the head of Thai immigration. So now he may end up being head of the National Police some point in the future. Now, how that plays out remains to be seen. If it even goes that way, remains to be seen. But again, when somebody like this makes comments about the retirement visa specifically, I'm going to take a look at it. Now, I've been burned a whole bunch. I don't usually make it a point to particularly look at a lot of comments on these videos, although my staff will from time to time bring up comments and bring up, sometimes especially when there's some constructive commentary, I definitely will take a look at that. But for the most part, you know, the so-called trolls or whatever, you know, at the end of the day, I've been doing this 7 years. If I seem a little bit resigned or just tired, I kind of am. I've been doing this for 7 years for free. I'm not putting out this information to aggravate or fearmonger. You know, people said the same stuff about me when I made videos talking about the end of the income affidavit. I excoriated across the comment section. When I made videos talking about possible changes with regard to bank balances when they started strictly enforcing. Again, we did that before it really came down the pike hard. And again, I was excoriated at the time. Talked about insurance before it became a requirement for the OA retirement visa. Again, pilloried for it. And then, you know, it sort of came to pass. Now, am I claiming I can predict the future? No. But when a former head of Thai immigration says the retirement visa scheme needs to be overhauled, I'm going to take that into consideration. I just am, and I'm going to comment on it a fair bit. And when you look at one of the discrepancies between the O and the OA, insurance immediately pops out. And so I've made a number of videos recently about the insurance component or the possibility of the addition of an insurance component to the O retirement visa. Now, whether or not that occurs, again, remains to be seen. But in the past, I've sort of seen these trends build up and then come to fruition. And I had, there were twitches of familiarity associated with the comments that the Deputy National Police Chief made a few weeks ago. So that's why I thought of making those videos. That said, like I've said, I've been doing this 7 years. I'm doing my best. I guess if people want to just fling vitriol at me for trying to do that, okay, whatever. That said, I thought of making this video after reading a recent comment on a prior video where I actually, in the quote, to give some context here, so excuse me, not in the quote, in the title, the question was posed, is there a panic, quote unquote, among retirees regarding possible changes to, the retirement visa scheme? And as I noted in that video, we were citing the word panic from an underlying source. I believe in that case it was the Pattaya Mail over at pattayamail.com. But again, that was just sort of me making the observation, and I was using the word panic, which you'll see here in a minute. I was citing that. I was quoting that. So quoting directly from this comment, this guy has been beating his own drum about mandatory health insurance for a month now. He's always quick to say that we should think about it, but then he doesn't think it will happen. No, what I've said is, in the event that in my opinion, if a major change was to roll out, I don't think it's beyond the realm of possibility that people who are already in the system would be, quote unquote, grandfathered in. They would be able to continue to renew under prior terms. We've seen this before. Back in the 90s when changes were made, people were allowed to be grandfathered in under the old terms. And I've done videos on that before. I've never said, think about it, but it's not going to happen. In fact, I've made it abundantly clear. I don't know one way or the other if it's going to happen. But again, when we see the former head of Thai immigration make major comments specifically on the Thai retirement visa, I think it's worth noting, and it got me sort of thinking, and I was looking at the situation, and it just kind of has the feel of we may be seeing sort of movement in the waters, if you will, toward change regarding the retirement visa. Now, whether it comes to pass or not remains to be seen. Again, I've said it myself, I think it's unlikely we'll see that happen during this high season, possibly during this coming year. It's, there's a strong probability they won't change it. But I think in the event that they do, be prepared for the possibility that the folks that are already in the system may be able to continue under their terms, but new people would have to deal with new rules. New people coming into the system would have to deal with new rules. That's what I've been saying since the outset. Anytime I've talked about this, that's all I've been saying. Quoting further, a master of CYA, I think he's on commission from the insurance industry. As for panic, I've yet to hear any discussion on the subject, either in golf circles, bars, or restaurants. Give us a break. Okay, fair enough on the panic part. As I said previously, I was quoting another source when using that word, but I thought it was worth making this video, and the reason for this video was this part where it said, well, I haven't heard anything in golf circles, bars, or restaurants. Well, guess what? That's going to be the last place you're going to hear anything, because at the end of the day, Thai immigration policy isn't set in those places, and where it is set, for example, the cabinet, the parliament, interior, well, I should say offices under the auspices of the Interior Ministry or the Foreign Ministry, specifically embassies and consulates, that's where the rubber hits the road regarding policy changes within Thai immigration. That's where those things are going to occur. Now, again, the last place you're going to hear about it is in bars somewhere, restaurants, or out on a golf course. Now, you may hear about it if you're out playing golf with Thai policymakers or something. You may hear something about the possible changes to Thai immigration policy, but you're not going to hear about that in those places. And in fact, again, those are going to be the last places that you're going to hear about it. As I've said before, I've discussed matters pertaining to Thai immigration in the past, and I'll be the first person to say I'm not right all the time. And I'll also be the first person to say sometimes we find thematically certain topics that we talk about on this channel. The travel bubble scheme, so-called, comes to mind during the COVID thing. I talked about that for a couple of years because it kept popping up in the narrative and it kept popping up in official sources even. They talk about possibly having a travel bubble. Never came to pass. Just did not happen. And so, again, and we talked about it. Even toward the end of COVID, I said, I don't think we're ever going to see these travel bubbles, even though they've been talking about it forever. But again, in the past, I remember getting these real hateful comments when I started talking about the possibility of the end of the income affidavit, which I was on top of before it actually occurred. I actually warned people about it. We were on top of changes to insurance policy before they came about. So I've been ahead of various things. I'll be the first to say that I'm not an oracle. I don't know exactly what's going to happen. I'm just sort of giving it my best faith effort, a good faith effort, to try and provide up-to-date, insightful information, hopefully, for people who watch this channel. But at the end of the day, if you take nothing else away from this video, this attitude that, and it's a very odd attitude, it exists in sort of the foreign expat community, that their bubble, if you will, is the definitive bubble, is the definitive narrative, if you will, whatever bubble they live in. Again, I haven't heard about it in bars, restaurants, or golf circles. Well, you may not hear about it there. That bubble may not be the place where that information first pops up, okay? And that's just the way of the world out here. I find it really interesting. Foreigners come to Thailand and they sort of exist in their own again, bubble is the right word for it, sort of in their own bubble, and just sort of think that they don't have to look beyond that when doing deep analysis about like future trends or how policy changes may come about. And at the end of the day, that, in my opinion, is just a very short-sighted way of looking at the world.